Hey
Hi.
guys, happy Thursday. And welcome to BGU, Black Girls Literal and Unscripted. And today I feel lucky enough to have my girl, teammate, Octavia Brewer. What's up, girlie?
Hi.
So I want to thank you for being on. And I know this takes a lot of nerve because, we were talking the other day. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a background on this. She and I were discussing just being women of color in direct sales and some of the problems that we've had and some of the things that have been addressed that we think could be addressed a little bit differently, and then some things that we think should be kind of brought up, addressed, and just to try to make things go. But as we were talking, I was like, girl, we don't need to have this conversation with us. We need to do this live, so that if any other of our comrades are on, they can chime in. But anyway, we're not going to be throwing anybody under the bus, so there's not going to be any negativity. We just want to just talk. We just want to just talk and have you guys be a part of this. Is that right?
So it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I was trying to share it, and I was like, I can't do this and talk at the same time.
Okay. So let me just ask you, what brought you into direct sales to begin with, Octavia?
So in 2016, my coach and mentor, Sean Strickland, she was running a group at the time called Black Women Build Wealth.
Okay.
And one of the things that she was training us on and teaching us about was how women become millionaires and wealth building, and talking about the, gaps in pay and all of that kind of stuff. And
Right.
One of the statistics that she shared with us was that 80%, now again, this is old information, we don't know how accurate it is now.
Okay.
At the time, it was that 80% of the female millionaires in the United States had achieved that status in part through direct sales opportunities. And me and my little brain and a couple of the other girls that were in the group with me, we spent probably about a month trying to dig into that stat to see if it was, well, are they making $1 million selling the product? Are they making $1 million with a combination of product and leading?
Okay.
Is it that this money they're making in direct sales is just opening up other opportunities, like being able to invest in real estate or stocks or options and cryptocurrency, all those kinds of things. And then after about a month of that, we got ourselves together and we were like, yo, just pray and ask God if this is part of your wealth plan or not.
Okay, wait.
And for me, I felt like it was. We were preparing ourselves to have another baby. And I had also at the time been looking at my company's policy. I don't work for that company anymore, but at that time, that company didn't offer paid maternity leave unless you bought a short-term disability plan, and you couldn't even access the plan for an entire year. Like, you had to pay for it for a year before you could be pregnant, not have a baby, before you could get pregnant. So
what? I mean, before you could even get pregnant. So
yes.
That's crazy.
So when I knew I was going to take the full benefits available to me under FMLA, which is 12 weeks of leave. And I was like, okay, 12 weeks of not getting my salary. What is that? And how can I make that outside of my corporate job and plan for us to have our next child? So the combination of those things is what led me to looking into direct sales opportunities. One of the things that my coach often talks about, especially when you start entrepreneurial endeavors, is what are the things that people naturally go to you for, because they're probably also going to seek you out if you start a business in those things.
That's really smart.
So I was like, okay, let me make my list. And one of the things that even just random strangers would walk up to me and ask me about is, what am I using in my hair? What lipstick am I wearing? What am I doing with my skin? Like, what skincare do I use, or what foundation do I have on? Those are like the common things that strangers would ask me about. And I was like, I think it's safe to say that if I were in the beauty space somewhere in direct sales, that would be beneficial to me. It'd be easy for me to talk to people about that and not feel weird selling.
Gotcha. So you just didn't feel, it would keep it so you didn't feel like a salesperson. It would just be
Yes.
more of a natural conversation.
Yes.
I understand that. I do understand that. So let's just say, so you sought out and you did find a place where you could do those things.
Right.
And what was the first thing you noticed when you came on board at this place?
That it wasn't as easy for me to launch and sell as it was for white distributors, because I'm over here using the lips that are on fair skin, and they don't look anything like the people in my warm market.
Right.
So it was really hard to sell for the same reasons that a lot of brands now are struggling with people of color. It's because we're like, we don't see ourselves, so we're not sure if we should buy it.
Right.
So I felt like I was spending a really large amount of time having to produce graphics myself. And I was like, I don't think this, you hear people talking about doing things that are duplicatable. It's like, this doesn't feel very duplicatable to me.
Right. And the fact that you actually had to create this yourself, that impedes on the time that you could be out there actually doing your job or, providing a service.
Yep.
So you weren't doing anything that was duplicatable, because anybody, like if I was new and I was like, hey girl, what are you doing? And you had me come in, I would say, well, look, you mean to tell me I have to do this and I have to do this too for myself? I need to make this myself. That might not be my strong suit. I may not be, the person that can sit down and do graphics. So with you having to create your own graphics, what have you seen with that? I mean, do you see that people are seeking you out because they see that you have these things and are asking to use what you have, or do you see other people doing the same thing? I mean, what do you see amongst Black women?
I think it's a combination, and it sometimes can get frustrating to have people consistently asking you for your stuff, because it's like, man, I worked really hard to produce this, and I don't feel like I should have to share it. But at the same time, you also understand, it's like, well, if it's a customer, even if it's not my customer, if it's a woman who is looking for something that's going to help her feel better about herself, and my pictures help them do that, then, who am I to be over here like, no, I'm gonna just keep this in my little private group.
So with you having to create your own, are there graphics like provided?
Yes. The company has definitely gotten a lot better at that, but it's still not for every product whenever it's launched. And that's kind of one of the frustrating things, particularly on the skincare side, because the FTC regulates what we can do a lot more in the skincare world than they do in the makeup or color cosmetics side of things. So it's a little harder on that front.
So I'm just sitting here. There's so many things that are going through my head all at one time about all of this, and I'm just kind of okay. So let me ask you this: have you reached out to people who could make decisions and ask for assistance with this? And if you have, what kind of response have you gotten back?
Well, for those who do know me, I had a video that went a little viral after Blackout Tuesday. And in that video, I did talk about how I spent a year contacting the email address that we have for our corporate offices. And that's who provides a lot of the swatches of color cosmetics, as well as the before and afters for the skincare. And it took a year of me asking for them, hey, when are these going to be out here on the deep skin tone model? Or, we have everything on the fair skin model and most things on the medium tone model, but the deep model, it ain't there. What am I supposed to do with that?
Let me ask you, so you were just saying about like fair, but then you said deep. What does deep mean?
Black women. Or, well, not just Black women, because you can be like when I look at, like, we just got a new VP. My VP looks like me, okay?
Okay.
When you look
Absolutely.
at
We can talk about that.
Kamala Harris and her
Uh-huh.
heritage, she is Black or
Uh-huh.
Jamaican and South Asian or Indian. When I
Right.
look at the Indian culture, I see their skin tones run the gamut. I see women who are Indian who have my skin tone or deeper,
Right.
that they would use a shade or two darker in foundation than I would. And so it's not just Black people who have deeper skin tones. Hispanic origin people have deeper skin tones. So, you know, just most people would associate it with Black skin, but it's not just Black people who have deeper skin tones.
I know this is jumping off topic, but because you brought that up, let me just say, how was yesterday for you?
Man, yesterday was amazing. I was just it's been interesting to see the conversations. I loved all the memes and the fashion and just to see people's excitement and joy and how it feels like we're having a different level of conversation about how to move everyone forward and achieve the things that are going to help as many people as possible. And that's what I'm most excited about.
That's great. So what was the moment for you yesterday? Is there a moment where it was just like, that was the moment for your whole day that you were like, yes, this is my moment?
To be honest, so as a musician, I know this is going to sound weird, but the walkouts with all the fanfares and seeing them like walking down those stairs in all of their outfits and hearing about the design choices that everyone made, you know, featuring designers that are American first. And then secondly, like different types of Americans. There was one who recently earned her citizenship within the last 5 years. There's two different Black designers were featured. Kamala wore two different Black designers. Her purple was designed by one from Louisiana, and the other one was originally from Louisiana. The other one was designed by a gentleman, I believe, that was originally from California. And Jill Biden, what her second outfit had all of the flowers from all of the different states embroidered on it. And just to see all those details that the first ladies and Kamala incorporated into their outfits. And then of course the music. I'm again a musician, so the fanfares that were played for them coming out, it was just it's our own version of regalness.
Right. You know, and I definitely feel the same way about that. It was a very proud moment. And it was just like, wow, it was just, you know, like you said, it was like our moment of regalness. So that was beautiful. So having yesterday happen, do you feel like this is a great opportunity for our company to reach out and to really make some changes that would be really helpful to other distributors like ourselves?
I think so. I think one of the things that a lot of us have felt very uncomfortable about is we don't know who's involved in the conversations.
Right.
And so being in corporate, like our corporate offices are in California, and I think that we all face different things regionally. And so I think it would be cool to have distributors who maybe aren't high ranked or maybe not even ranked at all, or just from different parts of the country brought in and ask, okay, what are you seeing in your area? How does that affect your ability to sell? Can you talk to me through some of the mindset things that you may need help with, and you know, how to overcome objections because of specific thought patterns that exist in the area that you live in. And I think that that's something none of us are really getting that level of training. Yeah, we're told about the products and stuff like that, but how to overcome objections, because I live in the South, and how to overcome the fear of approaching someone who, again, because I live in the South, who doesn't look like me.
Okay.
Where is that type of training? Who does that come from? Like, where is that? because you can't really succeed unless you deal with those types of mindsets first.
Right. That's very true. So for you personally, living in the South, would you say that's the biggest drawback for you, is that you just don't have that comfort level, or with reaching out to someone who doesn't look like you, that you're better in, like we always talk about, like the warm call area, in your warm area?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. One of the things, particularly because of I'm in Georgia. I shouldn't just say I'm in the South. It's important that you understand I am in Georgia.
Okay.
And Ahmaud Arbery. I'm just throwing it out.
Okay. Yeah.
That is very real for me, to have to navigate. If I am talking to this stranger, are they going to look at me funny because of my skin tone? What are they assuming about me right now? And how do I overcome that? That is something that I work through pretty consistently, especially pre-COVID, when we were out and about and could actually engage with people.
Mm-hmm.
When we first moved here in 2015, I remember being at the grocery store, and just chatting up the people that were there, getting to know my local store workers, because that's just what I enjoy doing. I like talking to them, and they're people too, and I think that they get overlooked. But one of the ladies, she's like, "Listen, I know you're new here, but I just want to tell you, don't come to this area on this." She told me a specific date, on Saturday at like 9 a.m. And she warned me because the KKK still rallies here. And I messed around and forgot one Saturday. And sure enough, there they were in their trucks with the flag, with their poles, flying the Confederate flags and playing Dixie out of one of the trucks and on the loudspeaker. And I was like, oh, okay, she was right. This is really what still happens here. So those types of things have an effect on my ability to be able to sell. And it's just it's sad that that's still the state that we live in right now, but it's my reality.
Right. So you were talking about that, and it just made me think about something. So I do know that there is a new program launched, that we really don't know all the details behind that program that's being launched. But I know one of the criteria is that you have to be basically a certain sale level. Like you have to have sold a certain amount of product, and then you would be basically you could apply to come to this program that they have. Okay. And the program is designated for Black women, correct? Women of color.
I don't know if it was just Black women. The problem, I think the biggest thing that most people had a problem with was the way this program was titled. We were very confused. The titles that were, and this is, we all understand that words matter.
Right.
And the title that was used was Diversity Leadership Development Program. Mm-hmm. When you hear that, particularly the term diversity, you assume that you're talking about those who are in the minority in our country. So the minority in our country is anyone who's not white. Right. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. So this is a program that's going to help us understand where we're missing the mark, so that more of us can be on stage, more of us can rank, more of us can excel in this opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I was all ready to apply. I was like, yes, let's go. Right. And then I saw the requirements and I was like, oh, well, I can't apply for that. Right. But I know that there are distributors who see me as a leader in some ways in this company, but I can't even apply for it.
Right. I agree.
Because I don't meet the financial thing that's tied to it. And that to me is what didn't make a lot of sense. I think having more details about what's supposed to happen in the program would help us understand, is this really a diversity program or is it another leaders program? And if it's another leaders program, why do we have two separate leaders programs?
Right. And what's interesting is realistically, the criteria, the monetary part of the criteria, there aren't many, if any, distributors that are your or my complexion or darker that even meet that criteria, because it seems that the problem is learn how to already grow our business where it is in order to get to that platform. So it just almost kind of seems like it's there, but it's not really there because it's not something that's going to help us get there, which is
Right.
what's really needed.
Right. Like we need, if it had been like one step back to the initial amount that they tell us we should get, I'm gonna just say it's consistently hitting $600 in sales a month. If they had just taken that step back and said, we'll start here, and like our first thing to do is to get us to that significant semi-seller level and be consistently selling $1,500 a month, like start us there, I think that would have been amazing. But we're all kind of like, we haven't even gotten to that part yet.
Right. So let me ask you, have you noticed that with some of the products, the hardest thing, especially like we talk about selling to where we're comfortable, because everybody does that. You always go to what you know first before you venture out. I'm not saying that we don't venture out, but that's just in general. Have you noticed that it's more difficult to actually even have women that look like us consider the product because of all right, let's just talk about one thing in particular, like let's say foundations, okay? Because we do have a certain price point for the foundation because it's luxury skincare and cosmetics. But if you have to buy 2 of those in order to reach the shade that you want, it makes a very difficult sale. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it does. And that puts us in, which is, it's just a lot, because I'm just going to lay out the things that are issues with that. We're a luxury brand. Cool. Black folks love luxury.
Right.
Here's the problem. Black folks love luxury, but we also are not about to pay to get 2 foundations and mix them.
Right.
I would go over here and buy some Fenty. I still think that Fenty is luxury too. Most people do. That is the way most of our community views that.
Right. Exactly.
And our community is also underpaid. So there are, like, when you talk about the wealth gap and you hear women are making 80 cents to a man's dollar, that is only for white women. The statistics for Asian women it's like 72 cents to the white man's dollar. For Black women, it's 61 cents. 61, I think it's dropped. We used to be 63. I think it's dropped down to 61 cents to a white man's dollar. Hispanic women is like 56 cents to a white man's dollar. So when you start looking at communities of color as your base to sell to, there's naturally more people who just don't have the money to do it. Yes, we can talk to them about the business opportunity side of things, but then again, you're still in the situation of they got to be able to sell something somewhere. And if in direct sales, you're telling people to start with your warm market,
right.
all this thing adding up.
Right. That's very, very true. Because it is really hard. If I say, well, I really want you to try this. And and I've already told you how great the product is, and we know that it's luxury, and we know that it's going to do some great things for you. And I say, try this, and I can't get what I have to match you. And I say, well, you know what? If we mix these 2 together, we can get you. You're right. Then you do, revert back to, like the Fenties. Actually, I think that's probably the hottest skincare foundation out right now is Fenty's line.
Fenty, Juvia's Place, and there's another one that just launched, Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez's new line that recently launched. I can't think of the name of it right now, but those are kind of like the big go-tos within minority groups, and that's fine. They feel like they're supporting brands that are owned by Latina, brands that are owned by Black women. Well, except Fenty's not, but Fenty is completely designed by one.
Right.
So and that also brings up the whole theory of, are you truly supporting a Black business owner when you buy direct sales? Well, we need to come back to that because I have a whole thing about a whole lesson to teach on that.
But you know what, since it's on the table, let's, I was saying that we should have this, like, just us having our regular conversation, like we were sitting on the phone, and it just so happens that our audience is a fly on the wall listening to this conversation that we're having,
Right.
In hopes that maybe, just maybe, the decision makers may take a look at this and maybe say, hey, maybe we need to reach out to those two young ladies or some other young ladies that are out there. And I said young like I'm young, and I'm 53 years old.
I just turned 37 today, so.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday! But yeah, so maybe that they will reach out to the field, to those that look like us in different areas, to kind of see what the actual need is, because I think that's what's missing. I think that we're losing those steps as far as like where we are now. I think that it's fine for us to talk to other people who support us, that are ranked individuals, but those that support us that are in ranked positions don't live our lives. And I'm a firm believer that unless you experience it, or unless you're there, you can't really understand it. You can't grasp it. You don't, it's different. You can look at it from the outside and say, hey, I get what you're saying, but you don't understand. You don't understand because you haven't done it. You haven't felt it. So, so I'm hoping that will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. One of the other things that I think is important is when we transition to being online, I was like, I was so not prepared for this. But I do think that makes it, I feel like that takes out some of that anxiety or fear that I had in talking to a lot of new people like that. Because online, you can just shop my link and I don't ever have to really engage with you other than maybe through Messenger on occasion. A lot of people can figure out their shade tones just by, without me having to do a whole lot of work, particularly if it's white women. But I think the transition to online might be a little bit more beneficial. But again, it still feels like I'm doing a whole lot more work to be online than when I was doing vendor shows.
Right.
I just haven't been able to do them this year because of COVID.
You're right. And it's funny you should say that, because I believe that a lot of people in our field have flourished doing it online. But then again, it still comes back to my community. I can't really service my community necessarily online, because I can't say, hey, with Mac, you're at NW45. You definitely are our golden color or our caramel color, because, things are just still not quite, matched up, So I still feel like we're at a disadvantage with that online. But I mean, we can sell, like you said, it is easier to sell to fairer skin because it's easier to match online than it is like now. I mean, even like right now, my lighting is throwing this shade off, but if I'm in a different light, it would look, so with us, it's really hard. I find that it's a difficult sale, even online.
I agree. One of the things, and it's not just foundation, even skincare. Like I'm going to use a real life example.
Okay.
And this is where, when you talk about diversity and wanting to be diverse and an inclusive company, you have to think about it from beginning to end. So like, let's look at our skincare. We know that we're regulated by the FTC and what we can and cannot use as before and after photos, to the point where we can only use the content that is provided to us by corporate.
Okay.
There is not a brown skinned woman in any of our skincare before and afters. So when I posted about our neck cream, my mother, who is very fair, my mother could pass. For those of you who don't know what passing is when a person historically, a person who is Black can pass for being white. My mother could pass if it wasn't for her hair and her body shape. Her skin texture My mother burns. She doesn't really tan. She has green eyes. I have brown eyes like my dad. So it is, it was interesting because I had her who asked about the neck cream. Mm-hmm. And then I had both my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law who are in the like coffee shade range. So like their skin tones are a lot like Viola Davis. Mm-hmm. And they were both asked, like they all asked me about the neck cream on the same day. And the only image I had to provide was the white woman that they had.
Right.
My mother made a purchase. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law did not, because they had concerns about what it would do to their skin. And I was like, I don't have a picture to show you. So as a new distributor, I lost out on the potential sale. Well, not a new distributor, but as a distributor selling a new product, I lost out on that potential sale to two other people simply because they didn't see themselves in that before and after of the skincare product. I was able to tell it to my mom, no problem. I've only sold neck cream to fairer skinned women.
Which is really sad because it's a really good product. It's a really good product.
But because of FTC regulations, I can't share, like for those deeper skin tone distributors that we have who do use the product, I can't share any of their photos because of FTC regulations. So that puts us at a disadvantage, and you know, people are missing out on being able to lift their necks like they really want to.
And you know, with you saying that about being at a disadvantage and not having that, it almost still rolls back to the fact that are they buying, is the customer base, are they buying from a blue business? I mean, we always say that we have our own business, but we still are selling someone else's product who's not Black. So it kind of throws us right back in there. So come on, bring it on, girl. Bring it to me.
So let's talk about this. So I work in pharmaceuticals right now. That's the current company I work for as proposal manager. And one of the things you hear, I learned about this, and then I was like, oh my gosh, so many more people need to know about this, particularly when it comes to the direct sales space. It's the term white labeling. So white labeling is when you take a product that is manufactured by a company, and instead of the manufacturer's label being on there, you replace it with your own. That is actually what a lot of smaller startup makeup brands are. They are white label brands, meaning that they don't own the manufacturing of the product that they are selling. All they are doing is simply selling what's been manufactured with a changed logo. So it is very possible for those same small brands to be selling the exact same product, but you think it's different because the logos are different. A very, very popular brand that most people don't know that started out as a white label brand is Kylie Cosmetics and KKW Beauty. Kylie Cosmetics is ColourPop. They're the manufacturer of her brand. Now she has grown enough in her business to where she has more say in what's manufactured. So now there is a true difference between the product. But when you don't have that initial startup money to be able to say, hey, I want to change the formulas, you are literally selling whatever they manufacture. They just slap a different label on it. So the difference between us as distributors is we don't have the capability to change the label. That is the difference. We are all still our own business owners. We all are registered in some way, or should be registered in some way as LLC, S corp, sole proprietor, what have you. And we're just selling something that we can't change the label on. You can also think of it when you think about it on the apparel side. If you go to your small apparel boutique in your local downtown area and you pull out a shirt and you look at the label, did they change the labels to match that store's brand name, or is it still the manufacturer's label in there? Boutiques have the ability to white label those that clothing that's manufactured that they carry in their store. They just have to pay more money to do it. Most boutiques don't. They just sell whatever the manufacturer has provided for them, or what they chose to pick from the manufacturer when they go to market. So, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, nobody is talking about this.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You definitely schooled me on that. Those are some good nuggets you put out there.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, why is no one talking about this as the objection to buying from someone who's a distributor in direct sales? And it's because people simply don't know. So that's truly the difference between us as being small business owners with a direct sales company and small business owners who are just launching their own brands, who are just white label. We can't white label, and they are white labeling. It's really the difference.
Okay. That's good news. I mean, I guess it's good news. I mean, it's complicated to try to explain to someone like, oh yes, you really are da 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 da, because then they're like, okay, well, you just blowing smoke. It's cosmetic politics. That's what it is,
Yeah, I mean, well, it doesn't just apply to cosmetics. You can be in an apparel DS and it still be the same thing. Because I look at, like, I know I went to one boutique and literally every item of clothing in the boutique had the boutique's name in it. And then I've gone down the street to another boutique and it wasn't the same. And I was like, well, what's the difference? Then I took an apparel class from someone who I admire, Crystal Perkins, because some of the things that we're working on here in our household, we're like, man, this could easily have an apparel line to it. It's like, I don't know nothing about that. So let me find a class with somebody who's done this very well. And that's what I found out from her. And I was like, wait, you can white label on apparel too. There's so many places where I was just like, wow. Yeah, there's a home company, like you can do that with home products. So like your paper goods, your toilet papers, your things like that. You want to start your own line, you can do that just by white labeling some manufactured stuff. I was like, what? Wow.
You mean instead of having Charmin, I can have Brewer?
Yes, you can.
Girl, you're too much. So let me ask you this. So we've talked about some of the problems that are out there, and that's something that we're all good at. We're all great at finding the problems. We lack coming with some type of solution or giving some of the options or recommendations, because I really think that that's what's needed, is some recommendations from those of us who are actually out here in the field. So what would be something that you would recommend?
So one of the things that a fellow distributor recommended, and we're kind of in the middle of it, was that I write a letter or a group letter. And that is coming. That is something we are all working on as a group, and saying, hey, we think we understand what's happening. Here are our thoughts. If this is completely off, please just let us know. But I think that's probably, part of the reason that there is the issue that there is right now is because of the fear of the unknown. And if we just and the way you overcome fear of the unknown is to gain knowledge. So if we just knew a little bit more about this program, I think that would probably quell some fears. And, but because of the way it was rolled out, we're now over here trying to keep people from just stopping their distributorship altogether. And it's tough. That's where it is,
But besides a letter, what would you want? I mean, like,
I think
a letter asking for more info is great, but with some of the problems that we've had, or the problems that are out there, what is it that you would like to see happen?
So one of the things that I think more companies, because as I talk to other distributors for other companies that do various things, this is a really common problem. And I think that there needs to be better D&I training at corporate levels for more direct sales companies by professionally licensed D&I folks. And D&I is diversity and inclusion. I should probably say that because everybody doesn't understand acronyms. And I think that there probably need to be like some sort of internal coalitions or internal boards, if you will, of people that focus on those problems to help. Like, I think you have to, number one, know where you are. Number two, establish goals of where you would like to be. And then number three, put in the plans and policies and procedural changes to get you to those goals. I am not sure that anyone has those things clearly defined. And if it's clearly defined, then do all distributors, does the entire distributor base know what those goals are? And so that way, when they are recruiting or they're coaching and mentoring people who they've brought into the business or people who they're helping to launch, they can say, hey, and here are these extra resources to help you be as successful as possible. We want to have you share your ideas in this place about these specific things. So I'm not, I don't have all the answers because I don't know all the inner workings of the corporate setting at some of these companies, but I think that there's some room to have conversations with people out in the workforce who may not be your highest ranking people, and simply because they're struggling a little bit.
Right. So let me, so the company we work for, it's ranked based on royalty. And the first real major milestone that everybody really wants to achieve is to become what we call a crown princess, right? How does it make you feel not seeing anyone that looks like us as a crown princess?
I think in the 4 years that I've been here, there's been like one.
Right. Right.
And that makes me sad. It makes me question some things. I know that if you haven't picked it up on it by now, I personally have spent a lot of time doing personal development work. I know that as an entrepreneur, personal development is just as important as selling products.
Right.
And, I kind of wonder, well, like I've been saying, like, well, where are we missing it? What's the missing link for us? And why is it in mass? Because I see these other distributors at some of our corporate events. So I know we exist in the company, but like, is it that enough of us don't have goals to be team leaders? Because in order to achieve that, you have to have a team. Is it that enough of us we're not setting realistic enough goals so that way we have a true path forward? Because sometimes you can set goals that are way too grandiose and that cause you to fail even more.
Because it does something to your psyche when you're like, I can't even get there. You fail and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to settle with where I am. So you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of crucial conversations that just have to happen. Yeah. There's just crucial conversations that have to happen. Emmanuel Ocho, when he was talking about the VP, he made a post on Instagram talking about Vice President Harris and why people were making such a big deal out of it and everything. And he said that it's such a big deal because you can't go where you can't see.
That's deep. And that's so true. It is because, real talk, I watched the inauguration and stuff with my 11-year-old daughter. And, kids always say, oh, I want to be president when I grow up. But to sit there and to watch her reaction when she was like, Mom, you know what? I mean, even more than, being a Black woman and a South Asian woman, was huge. But the fact that it was a woman, period. Right. She was just like, Mom, she's in the boys club. I was like,
she is.
I was like, and then she says, and Mom, she looks like me. Because, my daughter's biracial. So she was like, she looks like me. I said, yes, girl, you can get this. So you're right. You can't. Sometimes people do have a hard time having that desire to have that because they can't see themselves in that. So yeah, that's pivotal. Girl, you preaching today. Come on now. Preach away, preach away. One of our we just got a comment over here. Somebody said, yes, they are definitely following us on it. But it is. And it would be, and that's why I feel like this is a crucial point. This could be a real turning point for all of us if things fall into place where we're getting what we really, really need to kind of help us like lay the groundwork. So that, because basically that's what we're going to be doing. We are going to be making something that's duplicatable for other women that looks like us, because what's out there now is not working for women that look like us. So, but yeah, this is the time. I'm like, okay, this is a great moment. All these changes are happening in the world around us. Jump in. Let's get it going. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's definitely doable. But like I said, we have to have a good plan. We have to know the plan. We're all kind of out here like,
what are we supposed to do now? What is this about?
I personally, and again, because of my corporate job, I have spent quite a bit of time with traditional PR team versus a crisis PR team. There is a difference in the way things are rolled out when it's regular PR versus the crisis PR. And I felt like the rollout triggered a situation where you need some crisis PR. And the rollout shouldn't have triggered that. And that let me, I hope they realize, maybe we don't need to list out some of those things before we provide all the information.
Very true, very true. And so over the summer, Miranda and I did some diversity and inclusion training for anybody who really wanted to participate. Yep. I will say this, I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't more people who looked like us that were in the training, because that was an opportunity to have voices heard and to kind of have some dialogue going back and forth. But one of the things that kept coming up is that some of the ladies were saying that they didn't know what to say, or when they said stuff, they were saying the wrong things, not with the intention of it being wrong. So I sit back and I look at how things unfolded with this new program, and I said, maybe this is one of those moments that, you think you're saying something that's helpful, and what you say and how you put it out there didn't hit right, so so maybe somebody should have been talking to some other people to kind of say, hey, well, what do you think about this? I mean, it's not like we don't have a test market. It's not like things aren't, sent out there to test. So it would have been really nice if maybe that was thrown out there too, just to kind of see how it felt, coming across like that. So
yeah, I agree. We do that. I find myself in those kinds of situations at work. I think because I'm pretty vocal. I've done a lot of work between my mentor and coach and therapy to be comfortable sharing my ideas in general.
Right.
And so I find myself in those kind of situations quite often at work, where someone will send me something, hey, we're about to roll this out. Can you review this? Are we missing something here? Or, that happens in corporate environments all the time. Right. I'm not sure that I don't know if that happens on the direct sales side of things. Who is direct sales corporate engaging within their sales team? Because that's what we are as distributors. We're your sales team. Right. To say, hey, we're thinking about this program. What do you think about it? And is the group that they're sending it to diverse enough to be able to give you a wide range of opinions? And that, goes back to my whole, well, what do you have, some sort of approval board or something, idea board that I mentioned earlier in our chat. So yeah, we've got options. You just got to implement them.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there. I think that, first of all, because thank you for being brave enough to sit on this call, and to kind of, because you are putting yourself out there. We actually both are kind of putting ourselves out there, but it's because we want to change. We want things to be better. So if anybody's watching, you guys, we want things to be better. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. No, but in all seriousness, I definitely appreciate the fact that you did come here on this call after we were talking and kind of put yourself out there, and we were able to be very candid about some things. I'm sure that there's probably 9 million other things as soon as we get off that it's going to be in our little chat going around like, hey, you should have said, well, hey, comments are open if someone has something that we're missing here.
I couldn't even see if who's watching.
Oh, you know what? So do you have it on your? Are you looking at it?
I didn't pull it up because I was like, I can't focus. I need to focus.
I gotcha. Yeah, again, I want to thank you for wanting to be a part of this and wanting to just kind of come out and just put it all out there, because I think that some of the things that we said, not even some of the things that we said needed to be heard. And hopefully this will maybe even generate interest for someone to want to be an audience for us or some other Center Sisters of Color, and see what's what and see what's really needed, because that's what it is. I mean, we need for corporate to know what we need to be successful. I mean, you can assume all you want to, but unless you're out there and you're walking in those shoes, you don't know what the need really is.
Yeah.
So,
and I really hope that this conversation helps anyone who's with any other company, because one of the things that I learned from my Blackout Tuesday video is the number of people who felt the same way representing other brands that aren't even in the beauty space. These were apparel brands. These were crafting brands. These are cookware brands. I mean, the problem is pervasive. So anyone who's watching this, I hope that you can take this to whatever company you represent and say, hey, I've got some ideas because I'm struggling in this way. And can we talk about this? Can we work through this? How can I get help? Because I want to be the one earning those trips. I want to be on the stage. I want to be helping other people improve their families' lives through this opportunity. I'm struggling because of XYZ, and it's predominantly because of what's happening within my culture. And I think that more of those kinds of conversations need to happen.
I agree. Okay, so because you're on a Thursday call, you cannot get off my call without infamous Pivot questions. I'm sorry, I end every interview this way.
Okay.
So brace yourself for the Pivot questions. And for those of you who all do not know what it is, I'm going to give you the short version. James Lipton, or the late James Lipton, used to end his interviews on Inside the Actor's Studio with these 10 questions. And these are just kind of like get to know you kind of questions and kind of throw the person off. So we're going to dig deep really quick with Octavia.
Oh, gosh.
Okay? So here we go. So what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? Development.
Ooh. Because in direct sales and in any business, we all need to focus on personal development. Okay? Development. Okay, so what's your least favorite word?
Onomatopoeia. Mostly because I never remember how to spell it.
You guys, it takes all kinds. That's why I have different people on the show all the time. It takes all kinds. We are really learning about you, Octavia, I tell you. Okay, so what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Creatively, music. I'm a musician. I play 4 of the 13 clarinets in the clarinet family. Told you I'm a nerd. Spiritually, prayer. I love being part of the prayer ministry. Prayer like soothes my soul. I enjoy praying for other people. I enjoy seeing the manifestation of prayers, and like prayer is my jam. What was it? Creatively, spiritually, and
Emotionally.
So I'll go to the 5 love languages. My predominant love language is receiving gifts, closely followed by, because when I took the little test, it was like 1 point away. They're like, you probably need both of these in your life. But it's receiving gifts and physical touch. So I am normally a bit of a hugger when I'm around people. Pre-COVID, I will admit that I am struggling a little bit here.
I think we all
I
are.
literally only have my 3 people in my household that I can hug right now. So
okay, so what turns you off?
what turns me off? I don't like rude people.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, a Southern girl, there are just some things that you should do. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think you can voice your opinion without yelling. You can voice, civil discord or civil engagement is high on my list for me.
I agree 100% because you can you don't have to yell, you don't have to curse, you don't have to degrade the other person. You can just have a conversation, and if you disagree, you can agree to disagree.
Right.
All that stuff. So this does not have to be one of the 4-letter kind. It can be a different one. But what's your favorite curse word?
Well, I don't cuss, so
let me tell you, I say fracking all the time.
That's probably as close as I get as saying "dang it."
Okay. Technically, that's still cursing. It's just it's not a 4-letter, but it's cursing. So what sound or noise do you love?
What
sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise? I'll go with sound. My favorite piece of music is Jupiter by Holst.
Really?
Yes.
I'm sure my daughter's watching this, and I'm sure she's like, yes. Okay, so what sound
is the Firebird Suite by Tchaikovsky?
Oh yeah, you were talking her language right now. She's all about the classical, she's in that. So what sound or noise do you hate?
What sound or noise do I hate? I don't like rock music. Well, let me rephrase. Okay. I don't like heavy metal.
Okay.
There are some rock songs that I will jam out to. Me and heavy metal don't really get along.
Gotcha.
I've tried several times. I can't.
Okay, so what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
What profession would I like to attempt? Ooh, probably, man, what profession would I like to attempt other than my own? A chocolatier.
Oh, yeah. I never would have thought of that, but that's good. That's really good. Okay, so what profession would you not want to do?
A surgeon.
Okay, no blood and guts for you.
No, I don't know. I don't have to cut people's bodies open. My husband's first cousin, who's my cousin now, Brian, is a trauma surgeon. The dude eats it. He'll sit and eat his food. He grew up sitting and eating his food and watching surgeries. And I'm like, what? No.
That was his calling. Look, if he could do that.
It is so his calling. It is so not mine. I didn't when I was birthing my babies, they were like, do you want to see the mirror? No, I don't need to see it. Let's just get it over with.
Just give me the baby. I don't want to see anything that's happening. Just give me the baby.
I know there's blood. I know there's blood. I know you'll just cut me because I had episiotomies with both my kids. I don't need a mirror for all that. Let's just.
I got you. Okay, so finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done, my good and faithful servant.
Yes, yes. Okay, Octavia, I want to thank you again for being on. And I do hope that somehow or another the powers that be get an opportunity to kind of look at this video and maybe reach out so we can have some dialogue.
Yeah.
And to our audience, I guess we will see you next Thursday with another interesting topic. You guys be blessed and have an incredible week. Bye.
Bye.